Vigilantes, thank you for tuning in. Today I want to talk to you guys about something that's dear to my heart on a personal level, but something that doesn't speak for the entire entity of the crypto vigilante itself. As I've said before, not everyone at the crypto vigilante agrees with me or agrees with BSV. On purpose, I made sure to team up and bring guys to the crew that were more of the small blocker persuasion. And why is that? Because one of the biggest problems that we've had in cryptocurrency has been that we've become very tribal and there's not a lot of communication. But as an anarcho-capitalist, we have to realize that, hey, we're also capitalists. And as capitalists, we have to constantly seek profit. And we find profit where people tell us not to look. So for most of crypto, Bitcoin SV, BSV has been looked upon as a forbidden coin. How dare you look at that? I've taken the approach of, how dare you tell me what to look at? I'm going to look into it. And guess what, guys? I've been a big blocker from the start. I've always said that Bitcoin scales best on chain. And I look at the space objectively. I personally see BSV doing what I've always known Bitcoin being able to do. That is, Bitcoin being able to scale on chain, for miners to have an autonomous meritocracy, for entrepreneurs to use the blockchain as they please, and for us to be able to build on the Bitcoin protocol everything that you find other platforms trying to do in a better, more elegant way, within a simple setup. In a simple, elegant design that is the Bitcoin protocol itself. And today I have the pleasure to introduce you guys to Joshua Hensley. Joshua is an entrepreneur and programmer, but mostly an entrepreneur that I find very avid and very research oriented and very active within BSV. I've always been of the mindset that everything that you want to do on Ethereum was always possible on Bitcoin. And that's one of the reasons we had the civil wars that we did. And BSV has become the contingent within the miner meritocracy that encompasses all three chains, BSV, Bitcoin Cash, and BSV, as the hallmark of this ideology, of this idea that you can use the blockchain as you please. Now, when you say use the blockchain as you please, this is something that at times can be a little heavy, because no longer do we, as libertarians, hold everyone that uses the blockchain to a purity contest as to, like, you have to meet these requirements to use the blockchain as you please. And of course, guys, in crypto, these are all giant experiments that we're all experimenting with. And BSV is just the experiment that says crypto in its original design, that Bitcoin in its original design can scale and work and can offer us all of the everything that we ever wanted Bitcoin to be from a big blocker perspective. So, Josh, let's just get the cat out of the bag, because before this interview with you, I called you and I was like, man, I just got some news that really bothered me. It turns out, and I'll put the link on the description below, to a conversation that Jimmy Wynn had with a bunch of medical specialists. And we can't say certain words on YouTube and on social media because you can't share certain ideas, because I guess ideas are too powerful to be shared. So there are some status initiatives throughout the world that would like to track and trace you. And the people of Enchain seem to be okay with wanting to use the BSV blockchain for that. I honestly find, as a libertarian, as someone that likes my personal autonomy, I'm disgusted at that. But at the same time, if I stick to my guns and say, well, you should be able to use the blockchain as you please, yeah, sure, I guess even, you should be comfortable with even status using the BSV blockchain as they please, because it should be money and should be a protocol for the entire planet. But at the same time, it's like, come on, man. Did you really have to go there? Did you really have to try to appease what I think are the worst of the worst, What do you think, Joshua? Thank you for being with us. And if you could please introduce yourself a little bit.
Yep. So thanks for that. I'm Joshua. I've been in Bitcoin crypto for just a little less than, no, a little over 2 years now. Last October, I quit my full-time job to go full-time entrepreneurial BSV. And I could say it's definitely been probably the most fun time in my life. Like just being able to get up every day and work on this stuff. And I think I've hit that point where it's not work. It's just fun. And to be able to add value and get money for that is really good. But to answer that question about the redacted, it's yeah, I think there's so much other stuff that could be done. I agree that anyone should be able to use it, even if it's the government. But they it's like I can see them trying to jump on the opportunity and appease it. But I held the view that if they bring that stuff over, in the end, it's just going to be good overall for the ledger because it's more transactions. And it's I just look at this as like, I think there was a comment about the CIA if they tried to co-opt Bitcoin, and like back on the forums, on the Bitcoin talk forums. And the conclusion was like, well, they would have to buy it and mine it, and that would just end up boosting the network and making it more powerful and more distributed to everybody in the world. So I feel like the pros, I completely disagree with this tracking thing, but the pros of it in terms of it being good for the coin, the price, the demand, might outweigh it because other people can kind of have more capital to combat it, if that makes sense.
For sure. And let's be fair here, because we have coins like Chainlink that also are all up in that, We have, I mean, dude, just look at anyone that's partnered up with Microsoft in crypto, right? Look at BTC itself, right? You have people like Michael Saylor talking about how BTC will never be a privacy coin, right? And if you're a hardcore libertarian, you love privacy. So what the heck, right? So yeah, we have kind of a with Monero, right? Monero safeguards the individual, gives you autonomy, but heck, man, I could see evil government agents using Monero, dude. Actually, those are the worst of people, in my opinion, and they will probably be the ones using something that completely hides their identity, hides their funds, right? So you can take this argument in many different ways. You can like really, if you really, you can argue different perspectives here. But the at the bottom of the bottom line here is that you have to kind of respect human freedom and trust humanity, because no matter what, if you are comfortable with complete radical human freedom, you have to be comfortable with human beings using technology in whatever way they meet they see fit. So any technology can be good, used for good or evil, even if that good or evil is legal or illegal within any given jurisdiction, right? I mean, so many things that are immoral have been legal, right? And so many things that are moral have been illegal. So that's a different conversation altogether. I agree with you that that it's something. I just brought this up honestly, really not to throw shade on BSV. BSV has a lot of shade because of the ad hominems that go around regarding certain characters, but rightfully so, right, wrong, or indifferent, whatever. But the truth is that it personally kind of like jolted me, and it's like, whoa, what the heck? But if I want to be logically consistent, then I have to be open to the idea that there shouldn't be a purity test to use crypto. Anyone should be able to, especially if you're going to be money for the world, right? You should see everyone in the world as a potential customer.
Yeah, and if you look at what the role of, like, it'd be one thing if they're just doing it with these private companies that are interested in helping them. That's the free market thing. That is what it is. But if they're actually helping the government do this, I mean, this is one of those things where it's not really free market because the government's involved, right? So like they start making laws and regulations and stuff that you know, brings manifests an industry out of nowhere. Kind of like what was done with several events in the past, like 9/11 and, wars and all that kind of stuff. So, government's role is not to be tracking people. Their only role is to protect freedoms. But, they've completely gone over that over the last whatever years to do all kinds of crazy stuff that's probably illegal.
Oh, it's not just illegal, but it's pretty immoral, right? So, but let's move on beyond that, because anything that you could criticize BSV for in this regard, you know, um, you know, Ethereum is also criticizable, right? There's a lot of governments that want to use aspects of the Ethereum blockchain, initiatives within Ethereum to track, trace, and do draconian things, right? Um, and so it's again, it's that is I think we pretty much settled this argument. I mean, obviously not forever, but within this conversation, I think we pretty much gave it a pretty good objective perspective. Um, Joshua, tell us about BSV and the capabilities that are possible for entrepreneurs within BSV. Because, gosh, if you're an entrepreneur and you're looking at like Ethereum, not only are you dealing with a coupon economy where you have to, where the mantra is to have a coin for every new application, which economically, in my opinion, makes no sense whatsoever. No sense whatsoever. Imagine going to, exchanging my bread coin for your chicken coin all the time. It makes no sense. So economically, BSV using the BSV a coin as the main layer of account makes sense to me within one protocol, right? One single monetary unit. But on top of that, there's this notion within Ethereum, and now you see Polkadot, where they want to create a blockchain for everything. It's like, no, dude, like you just kind of miss the notion of the value of blockchain itself, and in that it's not just a unit of account that brings the world together, but it's also a network that brings everyone together in what we call BSV, right? That it's a small world, right? And the beauty of a small world network and the elegance of it, right? That you're 2 hops away from everyone without going through a layered system. It's just Bitcoin as it's always worked, and bada bing, bada boom, you're ready to go. Tell us about BSV entrepreneurship and your experience with it.
Yeah, so I believe that I'm just going to call it Bitcoin because that's what I think it is, that it's the most efficient value transfer in the history of humans. So like to be able to pay anyone anywhere, and this is something that Roger Ver is always talking about, to be able to do that is like, I don't think people understand how powerful that is. And also, we talked about anti-government stuff. Like I think that it will just deprecate a lot of these regulations. Like, I don't think they'll be enforceable. So an example I can give is, let's say you're looking for someone to code something quickly on your site. And you just say, all right, bounty $200 in Bitcoin. And then they take the job, right? You can just go pay them, right? You can just pay them. They do the job, done. I don't need to ask for their name, their phone number. This is like in the first paragraph of the white paper, right? He talks about this scenario, basically. Like to be able to just transfer money between 2 people without asking them for all this extra stuff. And you just multiply that. Like you think about that over and over and over and over, and you get this economy that's just booming, that nothing else can compete with it. So like the dollar is, good, but it can't hold up to that. Silver, gold is good, but it's worse. So like, I think Bitcoin is superior to every money that we've ever had because of that. And then you pare that down and go, okay, I can do a fraction of a penny, right? What will someone on the internet do for a fraction of a penny? We don't know because it's never happened before, right? So, that's what all these other cryptos are missing. ETH, I think, has an element of this, but the fees are too high. So that's done. BTC is a joke. BCH is a joke. Like the only one that can do it is one that needs to be able to scale for everybody. So the way I look at it is there's so much opportunity. I see so many job listings and demand for people on BSV to do stuff. And the fact that you could just pay someone to do something is crazy. Like you could think about a 13-year-old who can code. Maybe he can build something for somebody, right? But if you have a law that says, hey, I can't do it, then that value can't be created at all. But now you have something that makes that possible. Okay, now this value comes up. And then just think about that happening over and over and over again. Eventually, BSV will have something that no one else can compete with because they don't understand that. So like, if I can pay teenagers across the world to build something for me, if I'm not doing that with dollars, then dollars is by definition is worse, because BSV can do everything the dollar can do, but then it can do all this other stuff. See what I mean? So like, it just gets out of control when you can have all types of innovation and people getting paid and yeah.
Josh, like, well, I mean, I arguably you can do the same thing with Ethereum, right? You can just pay people with an Ether to code for you, right? How is this different with BSV?
But they got to pay 10% fees, and then like I said, so
sure. I mean, what about Bitcoin Cash? I can do Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah, you can do Bitcoin Cash, right? But that part, so yeah, BCH can do this stuff, but also when you start talking about data and usage, they're also capped, just like BTC is. It's just a bigger cap, right?
Right, correct.
And then they don't have the same smart contract.
Right on. Yes, I agree with you. So I see my definition of Bitcoin, and I think it's good to bring this up, is one that is very kind of inclusive, because I go to the fundamental level of what makes Bitcoin Bitcoin. And what makes Bitcoin Bitcoin is a network of miners. That's really what it is. Specialized computers that mine the Bitcoin protocol. At this moment, the vast majority of those computers are mining BTC. So yeah, BTC is definitely Bitcoin. But guess what? These miners are also, they're agnostic as to what they mine, and they're mining across 3 chains: BSV, Bitcoin Cash, and BTC. As a miner, and I've been a miner, if I put on my miner hat, dude, I really like the fact that there's 3 chains competing for my future business. That's right. So it allows me to, as an enterprise, to say, well, I can monetize. I have these 3 optional ways for me to monetize in the future as a miner. Which one's going to win? I don't know. Right now, who's winning? BTC is winning, right? But if you extrapolate, if you know something that other people don't know, that's how you get earnings in life, right? That's how you make profit, right? So people that are working on BSV, they see something that they think other people don't see, right? And that's why they're working on BSV. That's why miners are mining in BSV, because they, from their personal perspective, subjective perspective, they foresee a future in Bitcoin mining. They foresee that they see that other people don't see. The same thing with people in BTC, right? Everyone comes to this from their own personal subjective perspective, and that's okay. We're all racing towards competing in the market, right? And ultimately, the miners will decide who's going to win and who's not going to win. So if let's say Bitcoin Cash is not profitable in the future for miners, well, they won't be mining Bitcoin Cash. It's that simple, right? And the same goes for BTC. The same thing goes for BCH, for BSV. So I think that that's my meta perspective of Bitcoin. Bitcoin as a meritocratic competition of miners that currently monetize across 3 chains. So, but if you are, in a sense, looking towards the future, the person in BSV sees, wow, BSV is valuable for miners because it is championing the inner infrastructure of the blockchain growth itself, where entrepreneurs can come in and use the blockchain as they please, something that's definitely not possible in BTC. And within Bitcoin Cash, like you said, it's possible to a limit, right? You're limited in that capacity, like you said, right? But in BSV, what is sought after and what is people are working on is that it's the possibilities are limitless, because there is no cap in block size within BSV for the future, right? There's like, the idea is that there won't be any cap in block size, and you can use the blockchain as you please. So as an entrepreneur coming into and looking at the blockchain space, cryptos in general, I think BSV is a good something good for them to look into because it offers something very unique. And that's something that I want to ask you about, right? How, as an entrepreneur, as a developer, what is it that you see within BSV that is possible that you don't see elsewhere?
Yeah, so a big one that's coming up lately is because BSV has enabled all the original smart contracting stuff that Bitcoin had when Satoshi first launched it. There's now a new market around script developers. So this is kind of why Ethereum was built, because the core devs disabled all this stuff, and that's also disabled on BCH. But now on BSV, you can do any type of smart contracting script. So now a new position has opened up and a new demand for workers to learn this, esoteric scripting thing that isn't possible on any other chain because it's unique to Bitcoin. So, people are looking for these guys to be able to help them do smart contracts on it, but it's only been enabled for 10 months as of now. And, lots of people are looking for it. So, there's demand for people to learn this stuff. And if you learn it, you can help the guys looking for the position. So maybe you take a job with them. But chances are there's lots of other companies that might pay you might even at the script level to implement scripts for them, right? I know that, Boost Pal, they had to develop a script. That's something that Daniel Cravers is working on. And some of these other guys have had to do this to make something work, but it's difficult because it's just something that a lot of people don't know. So that's something if people are familiar with, kind of archaic stack-based languages, there's now a market opening for that on BSV.
Right on. That's awesome. So, so the way that entrepreneurship within BSV works, and the way I've always seen it is, well, unlike the other two Bitcoin chains, Bitcoin sibling chains, miners have the autonomy to do as they please and to mine as they please. So if you're an entrepreneur and you jump in and you're like, hey, I want to create this, that, and the other, there's no one telling you you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that with the BSV blockchain. That is you're just spamming the blockchain is what they call you're spamming the blockchain. Or like they told Vitalik, go take a hike. You can't do that in Bitcoin. Create your own chain. And he created Ethereum, right? As a big blocker, and I've been in crypto, I'm an OG. I'll tell you, a lot of us knew that everything that you're trying to build with smart contracts and tokens on Ethereum, on EOS, was always possible on Bitcoin. So to see BSV doing this is kind of like, it's a showstopper for someone like me, right? Whoa, they're doing it. The concept of using the blockchain as you please, right? If from my perspective, and please enlighten me a little bit more, you're a developer, you're starting a company, or let's say you're just an enterprise, right? Like a lot of enterprises are looking at BSV right now and they're trying, this whole blockchain thing that even IBM was into, we'll create our own private blockchains. And they realized that was a very trite endeavor. And now they're realizing, hey, BSV is a good option. If a company wants to use BSV for the back end of their business, or if a new startup wants to use BSV as the back end of their business, what can they do and how can they use it as the back end of their business? What are they capable of doing with the Bitcoin BSV blockchain as the back end of their business?
So I think the biggest thing is, for me, and what attracted me to it was when I was working at a consulting firm, it's doing any type of integration work with other people or other businesses. You always have to rely on that business. You have to set up a meeting with them. Okay, how did you code this? We got to figure this out, talk to each other. Okay, you got to give us permission to access your thing. And then we got to wait on their IT department. It's just a whole mess, right? With the ledger that everyone can just go one hop to, you don't have to do any of that. You can just start, you can just go. And unlike Ethereum, you don't have to learn this proprietary language that they made. So you don't have to do any of that to go ahead and start. So you could, from any programming language, you just need to code something that matches the Bitcoin protocol. And then you're off to the races. But there's so many libraries that have even built since 2009 that let people just go ahead and start interacting really quickly. So I think that's the biggest thing is anyone can just start coding no matter what technical background they have, and they can start doing transactions and no one can stop them. They don't have to authenticate. And the reason you don't have to authenticate is because every, that there's a fee rate, right? And that pays the miner. And the miner's not going to say no to you because he wants the fee. So, and this is where the scaling thing comes in, because the other two chains are capped, and Ethereum is pretty much capped because of the gas fees. So like, they're not going to say no to your transaction. Like if you try to broadcast a 1 sat per byte transaction on BTC, who knows when I'll get mine? Maybe in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe never, right? But if you do that on BSV, I mean, that's actually higher than the normal rate. It'll get scooped up very quickly because these guys know they want every single piece of the pie. So I think that's the big thing. It's like there's a very low barrier to entry. So like anyone can just start building stuff and no one can stop them.
So just to clarify a little bit about what Joshua said about the fee structure, within BTC, there is what's called replace by fee. And what happens is that, and every time you send a transaction within BSV, there's a thing that we call the mempool. And think about it as a bus stop, right? And the bus stop gets packed and jammed with people when there's a lot of transactions going on. So then replace by fee is actually an auctioning process that starts happening where people start auctioning off places on the next bus that comes by, right? And oh, well, I'll pay this much to get on the next bus. And then, so those that pay the highest get on the next bus within BTC. That's called replace by fee. Bitcoin wasn't like that in the early days. Bitcoin in the early days was like BSV, where you go to the bus stop, everyone, no matter how many transactions, well, back then, Bitcoin was small. No matter how many transactions, how many people are at the bus stop waiting to get picked up in the next block on time, in the next bus, they all get picked up. And when you have blocks that are unlimited or that aim to be unlimited, like in BSV, right? Huge on scaling on chain. Once your transaction goes into the mempool, you are assured that your transaction is going to get picked up in the next block of time. So every block of time, the mempool is completely empty in BSV. So that's what Joshua was alluding to. So that allows, transaction fees in BSV run parallel with transaction volume. And that's why entrepreneurs like Joshua are focusing so much on applications that incorporate microtransactions and just a lot of transactions, right? Turning likes into transactions, things like that. So here, so on the blockchain itself, in the BSV blockchain itself, Joshua, what are we capable of right now? And what will we be capable of in the future? Because I see companies like Twitch, startups like Twitch. How does Twitch work on the back end, for example? If you can please explain that. How does Twitch work on the back end?
Right, so Twitch is a kind of a decentralized social media application that's built on top of BSV, and they stamp every interaction onto the ledger, and then it's signed by the person who did it. So you can prove that you did this action at a certain time. Now, Twitch also runs a database, so they can just have their app work easier, but everyone can validate that whenever they do stuff, like, comment, branch, post, all that stuff, it is recorded on the chain immutably. So you can't be censored. Yes, you can be censored from Twitch itself, but not from the chain. So that data is always there. So unlike all the scrubbing we see going on in the demonetizing and banning of people that lean a certain direction, that won't really happen on Twitch. Like, it could happen if you're abusive or whatever, but there's always a true source of that stuff where anyone can go. So you can imagine posting a video or an audio file, because that's a big thing that's going on right now, right? Where, podcasters are getting delisted and people are getting banned from Twitter and stuff, and the data's gone. Book burning, right? I mean, that's one thing that these types of people like to do. But, Twitch is just an interface, but the true innovation there is that it's recorded at a certain time. So you see, okay, this happened without a doubt. And then anyone can go look at it. So like, even if someone does get banned from all the social media platforms, if their transactions on chain and that data's there, someone can always just give them the hash and say, hey, look, my podcast is still up. My video is still up. My blog post is still up. You can still go read it here.
Okay, so just to clarify for people, does that mean that like the actual content of Twitch is stored on the BSV blockchain?
Yes, every single piece of content that you do. I mean, certain things like your profile and all that, that's not stored, but all of your posts, all your comments, every time you like a post, every time you do a retweet, which they call branch, every time that is stored on the chain.
So there's another startup that caught my attention in BSV, and it's called Relica World. And Relica is kind of like an Instagram, right? And with just pictures and people commenting on pictures and liking pictures, and you get to monetize your pictures, and you own your data. There's no centralized company monetizing off you like in Instagram. My question is, are these pictures also stored on the BSV blockchain?
So when Relica first launched, they were, but that was obviously too expensive because there's still some technical limitations, not with the chain itself, but just in general with the node software. So, sorry, I mean the protocol. The protocol doesn't limit you, but the miner network, just they're not ready to take on huge files yet. So the fees are really high for large pictures. I think Relica was at first, but I haven't used it in a while. But I know that they are not storing the actual image on chain anymore, but they're storing some type of proof of existence type thing on the chain.
Okay, right on. So just to elaborate on what Joshua just said, when you allow miners to be completely free and to mine as they please on the original Bitcoin protocol, miners now are governed. There's no centralized group of decentralized developers telling a miner what you can or can't mine. That's what really makes BSV appealing to me and many entrepreneurs. So miners can scale as they want. Miners can mine as they please. Miners can do as they want and grow their enterprise as they please. Now, the thing is that what Joshua was just speaking about was that miners are in competition with one another. At the same time, they have to collaborate with other miners because Bitcoin, the Bitcoin blockchain, is a network where miners need to be as connected to other miners as possible. So let's say there's a very wealthy miner, right? And that miner can scale to the degree of allowing the BSV blockchain to store giant files, right? Like in this example, we're talking about Relica, right? Like pictures and videos and all that, right? But that doesn't mean that just because one miner has the funds and the means to scale that much, that other miners within the network have that capability, right? There's maybe miners that are just startups that are getting started, young people that are, maybe don't have a lot of money to scale their enterprise, their mining equipment. So what happens within BSV is in this like radical spontaneous order of BSV, miners calibrate, the market calibrates. So the capability of the miners that, have the ability to scale immensely, they have to kind of chill out while these guys catch up to them, right? So they're always calibrating as within the network of miners, because the network of a miner, the value of a miner is not just to be like, oh yeah, I can do it. No, it's like, oh yeah, I can do it. And what doing it is in Bitcoin in its original design is I can bring the most value to everyone in the network.
Right. Yeah, the miners are not blocked in any way, but that also means the miners can add other types of services. So right now, the ones on PCH and BTC they're all of them mine all the coins. So I think some miners might pick change, but that's the vast minority. Most miners mine all three chains, but the ones that are using that, aren't seeing the future, or maybe just, mine BSV based on profitability and not future speculation. What they're missing is that they're just hashing, right? They're just doing proof of work. They're not doing additional services. But if you think about it, a miner who does do that positions themselves uniquely. I know you mentioned at the beginning that if you know more than others, then you have a chance to profit. So there's no incentive for like legacy, BTC miners like Bitmain or some of those pools to innovate in other areas like what is it, like content storage or data management, consulting services. You know, no BTC miner is going to say, hey, we're starting a consulting services about how you can scale your app on BTC. It's just non-existent, right? But a miner who sees the future would actually do that. Or they might, you know, build coding libraries. They might charge people for help on things, or they want to be the service for an app that's launching. No, the app is launching on BTC. So Bitmain, okay, that's not even a service option they have. But you take another service like you mentioned, Matterpool, they have an incentive to do that type of stuff because they already have customers. And the crazy thing is, if you're a miner who sees this stuff, I mean, it's all the same algorithm. You could see them providing even some of the services that exist on other chains to those people, right? So they could have customers that are on other chains. And that can get a little crazy if you think about it. But yeah, I just think the miner will evolve over time with the block subsidy. It basically scales with that. As long as that block subsidy is high, it'll stay the status quo. But as it goes down and it depending on fees, you'll start seeing it change.
Yeah, if you want to get a better idea of what we're talking about, go to coin.dance. We're talking here explicitly about on-chain transactions, guys, not second layer transactions. And maybe someone in BTC will tell you the Lightning Network. you use the blockchain when you close and you open a Lightning channel. Sure, you sure do. Yeah, you're right. But between Lightning Hub to Lightning Hub, you're not using the blockchain at all. Okay, there's a difference between those type of transactions that happen outside of the blockchain, outside of the miner infrastructure, to transactions that happen inside the mining infrastructure, right? We're talking about the value to miners, and the value for miners comes from transactions that happens among miners themselves, right? So right now, BTC is profitable for miners. Their mining structure, again, their fee structure is different than that of the BSV fee structure and Bitcoin Cash fee structure. But the big dichotomy here is BSV and BTC. So what Josh was alluding to was that in BTC, miners are highly dependent on the block reward, which we call the subsidy, right? The block reward, which halves every 4 years. That block reward is that and the replaced by fee, which, as we already explained, it's limited, and it's the auctioning process that only a certain amount of transactions can go per block of time within BTC, is limited and arguably not something good for scaling. But as I've been talking to my team about this, I don't think Wall Street is going to care to pay $500 worth of fees for BTC, because their status, they don't care. They want their millions in BTC and digital gold, and they're going to pay $500 in fees or whatever. So sure, will BTC keep scaling? Yeah, with all this institutional money coming in, yeah, I don't see why not. But the lifeblood of miners within BTC is contingent on exterior world outside of the BTC blockchain, right? Institutional money and the price of the coin on exchanges, right? I keep forgetting the name of this house. This financial house did an analysis before the halving, and they said that miners on BTC will only be profitable and are only profitable if the coin is over $12,000 after the halving that just happened, right? Sure, they're profitable now, but right after the halving, they weren't profitable. I mean, the price of the coin was below $12,000. So for a while there, miners were hurting in BTC. So sure, BTC could keep increasing in price, and miners can be very profitable. But then again, that is contingent upon how the world sees BTC and how people, invest in BTC, right? the mindset and the way that people in BSV view all of this is different. It's almost backwards. It's upside down, in a good way, because the emphasis in BSV is not to depend on the extrinsic world and how the extrinsic financial world sees or values the coin at a certain time. The strength and the growth and the fortification of the network within the BSV mindset is for it to come from within, and that the real monetization for miners within BSV comes from a lot of transactions that happen within the BSV blockchain itself, right? So I just wanted to explain that real quick. Okay, guys, I am a miner maximalist. Okay, I love mining, so these are all great options for Bitcoin miners, right? Both BTC, BSV, BCH. However, do I have, am I partial looking into the future in one over the other? Yes, I am. I think everyone has their own partiality. As of right now, I see all three chains having a symbiotic relationship because they're all feeding the miners, right? And they're all promising, they're all fighting for the miners' future business. So I think that's great. But going back to BSV itself, so right now, you can't store actual pictures on the blockchain because it's not something that the blockchain itself has calibrated to that level. We also see startups like Streamanity. Maybe you can talk about Streamanity. Streamanity is doing video content like a YouTube on BSV.
Oh, yeah, I mean, sorry, just to correct one thing. You can store pictures. Pictures are fine on BSV, and you can even do audio files. So, like, there's a service that just launched called caster.fm. And with the help of that miner we talked about, Matterpool, they are concatenating files. So you could do up to, I think, 300 megabytes of an audio file on chain. So that's possible today. We haven't gotten to the point where we can do like huge videos, but I think that's just a matter of time. But yeah, let me talk about Streamanity. Streamanity videos are not on chain, but you pay to watch. So very simple model. But another cool thing you can do with it is you can set the preview as long as you want. So you could have a scenario where, okay, I make, certain level of information is free. And then maybe at 10 minutes mark of a 20-minute video, I say, all right, this is for my people who are willing to pay me. And then the rest of the video is that way, right? You could see a scenario with that. Streamanity also has an incentive, unlike YouTube, to not ban people who they disagree with. So like all these people getting shut down because they talk about truth and all that kind of stuff, and YouTube thinks there's a different truth, they're gonna knock them out because they are dependent on an externality, advertisers. And if their advertisers don't like a certain political way or certain facts, certain types of facts that they disagree with, they'll get nuked off the platform. And we've seen that in mass over the last few years. But Streamanity takes 20% of every purchase of a video. So if it's $2, they take 40 cents. Why would Streamanity ban anyone, even if they're talking MAGA, whatever, redacted, any of that type of stuff? They're not going to ban them because they make money every time someone pays for a video. So they want the most controversial person coming over. As long as they're not being hateful and abusive, come over. If you get 1 million views, I don't care what you're saying. I want you on my platform, right? The biggest hurdle for them is you need BSV to use it. So that's why I don't think it's seen a boom. But you have seen people come over and start earning money by posting videos. I mean, you think about like with YouTube, I mean, you can get 900 views and you don't make any money. On Streamanity, if you charge $1 and you get 10 views, you make $10. That's a big difference. There's this guy, Ari, who's he's an OG Bitcoiner. He made a video talking, just criticizing everybody in the BSV space. He had 40 views, right? 40 views on YouTube would get you nothing. He charged $5 for his video. He made $200. That is a big deal. That is a huge difference. And you take that, okay, if it's someone who doesn't have that much money, that could be a week's earnings, right? So like, it's just, Streamanity, I think is, I don't know if it'll be the business to do it, but I think that concept is so powerful. And then they also have another thing where you can split revenue. So like if you have multiple producers of the video, you can split that real time. So like, let's say 3 people produced it, 1 person is actually doing the video. You can split that 25% each, and there's no management of that fund. It's non-custodial. When someone pays to watch that video, that gets split 4 ways real time to the people who are listed as the revenue share. And that's something that a lot, like these legacy platforms will not be able to compete with that at scale.
Dude, that's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah. So one thing that I want to ask you about is a lot of these protocol platforms like Ethereum, EOS, you know, they all have this tendency, they all want to be proof of stake. And one thing that I love about proof of work, especially when it's extreme, like BSV is extreme proof of work because miners have complete autonomy, right? It's the most, it is the extreme example of proof of work in all of crypto. And where miners can do as they please and specialize even more. They can go even more better than ASICs if they want in the future, right? And there's an incentive for the miner at this extreme level to better their equipment and to better themselves, not just once in a while that you do maintenance on your computers. No, dude, like the incentive is in real time, constantly, right? And this is collaborative competition where everyone's kind of holding each other up and everyone's just growing and getting better. Like something that I don't see possible within a proof of stake system, because there is not that market driver for the validators or block producers to better themselves consistently, continuously. Proof of stake is where you put your money up, and then when you're done, if you want, you can take your money out. Proof of work, you're not putting money up. You're buying, first and foremost, very expensive computers that are highly specialized to do one thing in a very precise way, and that they don't have any other function outside of mining the Bitcoin protocol. And on top of that, these computers, I kind of lost my train of thought a little bit. These computers are incentivized to better themselves continuously, because they're not just putting money up to buy the computer, but they're spending energy that will never come back. They're putting out energy that will never come back. That is like that, you know, in BTC, I heard Dan Hell describe it on Twitter. You know, it's beautiful. He says, you know, the miners create a force field of energy around Bitcoin. I love that imagery, right? It's a force field of energy. It really is, you know? And again, remember, my definition of Bitcoin is that Bitcoin is a meritocracy of miners that monetize across 3 chains. So it is these same miners who are agnostic as to what they mine, and we've been talking about this, right? That these same guys are mining BTC, BSV, Bitcoin Cash, and they're all forming this force field around Bitcoin. So it's very important, guys, to keep this in mind, that BSV and Bitcoin Cash are not altcoins. They're not just another coin. See, a lot of BTC maximalists will tell you guys, oh, those are shit coins. Those are, you know, that's not really, guys, honestly speaking, that's not really like an honest thing to say, because they are all still part of the same network of miners, of Bitcoin miners. And so they are not altcoins. They are alternative histories of the Bitcoin blockchain that started at the Genesis block. And they are competing for the business of the future business of miners. So they're very different. They're very different. Hypothetically, could, let's say, Bitcoin Cash become the Bitcoin standard blockchain in the future? Yes, it still could happen. Could it be that BSV becomes the standard? Yeah, it could happen. Could it be that BTC just becomes so profitable and so big and this decides to do things in a different way that makes BSV and Bitcoin Cash obsolete? Yeah, that could happen too. But as of right now, we have three, right? That nourish themselves from the activity of these miners and that monetize these mining enterprises themselves. I went on a little rant there. Sorry, man. So you were saying, Josh?
Yeah, the proof of stake is like you said, there's no incentive to get better. So, it's whoever has the more coins, they route the more payments and get, they end up getting more coins, whether that's fees or whatever. And then they get some centrally planned interest rate, or, it's no different than taking your money and putting it into a bank. But yeah, there's no incentive of growing or, and the guys who have those coins, they don't care about getting more people. They just want more coins, at whatever cost. But also in proof of stake, let's say if you have a lot of coins, like let's just take Satoshi, right? Let's say Satoshi was on it. Let's just take his coin stash, right? Let's say he had 5% of the supply on like ETH or EOS or one of these things. He would never have to do anything, right? He could just sit and he'd be good forever, as long as the whatever you want to call this scheme keeps going, because he just gets so much money every time because he has the overwhelming majority. But like you take that and you make it, let's say it's 40 or 50%, right? Then this person will control the network forever. They never have to do anything to do. Whereas with proof of work, they have to constantly iterate. They have to build more stuff. They have to constantly take their profits and reinvest them. In proof of stake, you never have to do that. You just have to, you actually don't want to spend your money. You just want to hold as many coins as possible. So like with work, it doesn't matter how many coins you have. It matters how much value you can add at a given time, whether that's today or whether that's 10 years from now. Whereas proof of stake, no, it's just, what is my coin balance? If number go up, we're good.
Yeah, it's almost like I see the crypto space in general as a continuum between like extreme proof of work, which is like BSV, extreme proof of work. And then you have like a gradation to the point that you get to proof of stake and then complete centralization, right? Like XRP, Ripple, right? So a lot of people in the early days, and I mean, there's a lot of BTC maximalists that back in the day were working on like colored coins, and it cracks me up. Like, or they're working on like tokenization, like back when we all knew that these things were possible, and then someone told them you can't do that on the Bitcoin blockchain, right? And then a lot of these people, their minds change, and they're like, yeah, like, and we had the Civil War, whatever. But let's talk about smart contracts and tokens on BSV. Please tell us about the smart contract capabilities on the BSV blockchain.
So yeah, the excuse for Vitalik creating ETH was that the core devs just limited everything that Script could do that on Bitcoin back in the day, and then just said, you can't do this here. So on BTC, you can only do like 5 or 6 transaction types, which are, the most complex thing you could do is multi-sig. And that's even cap. I think you can only do like 2 or 3 or something. Well, now with BSV, they've reverted to the original, what Satoshi originally did, where you could do all kinds of scripts. You could do math scripts. You could do proof of work scripts, which I find fascinating. So like you can, this has already been done on BSV where people can mine BSV with their CPUs or whatever. And I think eventually their GPUs, because of the script, is actually coded to say, if you've done this much proof of work, you unlock the coins. So like you could do these types of weird scripts. You could do, like I said, math. It could be, any type of program. But the way that people try to change what's true is they say, oh, well, that's not Turing complete, which no one really knows what Turing complete means. It's just a buzzword to like for people to say, oh yeah, our thing is Turing complete. So that means more people will buy the coin. But no one actually knows what it means. If you can just do a program that satisfies people's actual business requirements, that's all you need, right? No one's running like huge loops and huge computations just to like say, hey, if the interest rate is 2%, pay this person that much of this amount, which is totally possible in script. So like if you can do these simple smart contracts that, where you have conditions to spend money, then you can do everything Ethereum can do. And that's possible with BSV. And then that includes tokens too, right? So you can have non-fungible tokens or, fungible ones, which are issued on ETH. In fact, there's already a couple that have been issued in the last couple of months. So we have USDC as of 2 months ago. It doesn't have much traction yet, but I imagine that'll change over the next few months because we don't have the fee issue. I actually like USDC on ETH a lot, but the issue with it is just the fees are just too crazy. So I could see where that could port over at some point, where if it gets too popular. But then, like I said, NFTs, that's also taken off on ETH, where you can do digital pets, crypto keys, this sort of thing. This is also possible on BSV, but you won't run into the same issues that the crypto kitties guys did, because the fees will never get that high. In fact, if you have an app that scales like that, the fees will probably go down because they want to meet the demand. So all this stuff is possible. It's just a lot of social BS, a lot of crap lies and stuff on Reddit, and people not thinking independently gave them these conclusions that are, incorrect. Well, I guess Vitalik wasn't wrong when the core devs explicitly hampered it to force him off. But, and now that's changed. The scenario has changed. But, I'm sure his ETH bags are too big at this point.
Yeah, it's really hard to make someone or to teach someone to think independently, because if they follow what you're saying, then they're no longer thinking independently. So it's I've got a lot of crap for being an anarcho-capitalist, working with Jeff Berwick and still holding on to that, what made me fall in love with Bitcoin, right? Everything that we're talking about, which now BSV is proving possible finally. Like, look, yes, this is possible on the original Bitcoin protocol at scale, right? So, yeah. Is there anything else that you want to share, Joshua? I mean, I think we covered pretty much everything. Is there any other aspect of BSV that anyone out there that's coming into crypto, or anyone maybe looking at this from Ethereum, that kind of like gave this an opportunity? Because a lot of people, I'm telling you, like you said, like the tribalism is real, and it's a lot of people. It's kind of sad, I actually have seen it even within BSV. They're not thinking like capitalists, right? And they think that the crypto space is a place to be political in, where you're supposed to swear allegiance to a group and not swerve from the opinion, from the sacred opinion within a group. And I'm like, no, screw your opinion. I'm going to look into things for myself. And if you're a capitalist, you know that this is extreme capitalism. Crypto is extreme capitalism. And I think the best manifestation of extreme capitalism is BSV, for sure, because of the miner autonomy. No one's telling miners what they can or can't mine. I mean, there's a coin I love a lot, which is Monero, but it's for its own reason and its own purpose. It doesn't allow for there to be a miner meritocracy. I understand their reasoning, and I understand that for their end goal, they must be a private coin. And so they cannot just allow anyone to come in and change the code willy-nilly. They have a reason for it, right? And there's a place in the market for a coin like Monero. I love Monero. I love privacy. But when we're talking about being money for the world, when we're talking about being radically capitalist, BSV, I think, magnifies that the best. Whether you like the ideas of people within BSV and the philosophical worldview, or what they attempt to do with the BSV blockchain, like Nchain wants to do with some bureaucrats that want to track some of this, as much as that sucks and much as I disagree with that, if it is to be money for the world, then we should be changing our mindset and looking at the whole entire planet as our potential customer. And I think that should go for all of crypto, like having a purity test to come into a cryptocurrency. I don't think that's That I don't think that's that is the mindset of a proper capitalist, right? That seems to maximize profit. Where would you say an entrepreneur looking into BSV should look into? What are some good resources where they could start?
The bitcoinsv.com website is really good. That has some standard resources of different tools and popular ones that people have been using. I would definitely also say anyone involved or looking into it should join Twitch. That's where most of the users are that are actually, because you need it to. That's where lots of people are day to day, and there's good discussion on there. In terms of for devs, that site I mentioned is good for that. And I've also on my YouTube channel I've done some tutorials, which is just my name, on how to build and stuff in JavaScript. But I think next at this point, BSV's kind of hit a wall in terms of how it's going with the current status quo, because I feel like it's the same people, same kind of companies. We haven't had too many new entrants. I am seeing some new apps, but I think that explains, like, because the transaction count actually went down at a certain point this year. It's gone back up since then. But I think we need new people to come in to start trying this stuff out. And with Ethereum guys, I think a lot of them just go there because that is, that's where you're told to do all the crazy smart contract stuff, and you can program, and they've got a lot of devs and communities. But on ETH, the problem is that if you get too successful, you will literally break the chain. And we've seen that too many times, and that's too much of a risk for any business who wants to do anything serious. So like I've said this before, it's like on ETH, if you succeed, you fail, because you're going to hit a wall every single time. And that's unacceptable. That's just not acceptable for a risk. So why would I stay there? If you come to BSV, look into it, ignore all the Craig crap, just look into what you can actually do. You'll see that you're not going to hit that. If in fact, you will probably push things to scale more, because if you run into issues, those will be quickly addressed, and you won't have people saying, oh, well, it is what it is. Too bad. $10 fees, suck it up, right? They're not going to tell you that. They're going to be like, no, fee is a 10th or 50th of a penny. Okay, maybe we can get this to 100th of a penny, right? So like that element right there, where people will welcome you to come over, and we want people to scale, and you can build anything you want without having to worry about a theoretical barrier at some point, then I think it's where the like you said, the capitalists come to make some money. And there's one more thing I want to talk about with ETH. They had a second boom, right? We saw that in the summer with their DeFi stuff. And I think they were doing some really interesting stuff. But again, they hit a point where the fees just became too much, and they had to stop. They just had to stop. Like there was a business that said, we can't operate anymore. We're done. Bye. Right? That's crazy. It's just too much of a risk.
I completely agree with you that, the success in Ethereum thus far has been, the more successful you are, the more prone you are to fail. And look, the thing is that even economically, with the whole coupon economy structure that they have going, where every application has its own token, it makes no sense, because money is a zero-sum game. Good money drives out bad money. That's just how it works. People always rush towards that which the medium of exchange that is most liquid. So the moment someone in Ethereum creates a token, or in EOS creates a token, at that moment, that token is at odds with all of crypto. And they have it's at that moment, that token is in a race up against all the other Ethereum and EOS tokens to get a network effect. And at the same time, honestly, dude, these tokens are they're a coupon economy. That's what we call them at the Crypto Vigilante. And we're not for coupon economies. That makes no sense. Economically makes no sense. So BSV is the only smart contract platform that is complete extreme proof of work and is not a coupon economy. But then again, you can allow tokens, right? For like non-fungible tokens. Can you talk about that real quick, please? And let's talk about DeFi possibilities within BSV while we're at it. Please, Joshua.
Yeah, I think all that, like I'm not so dogmatic as to say I don't care, you know, I don't want people launching tokens. Like I actually wrote about this a few months ago and I got some crap because of it. But I was basically saying, yeah, we should let people do ICOs on BSV. Why not? Right? I don't think it's bad that they're doing ICOs because, you know, if we're going to go the true anarcho-capitalist route, then we shouldn't be telling people what they can and can't do with their money, right? So like we shouldn't be banning, like to me, you know, who protects the consumer? To me, this is like basic economics. If someone wants to launch a flight coin, to me, that's obviously a scam, right? But if you want to buy it and speculate, go ahead, lose your money. I don't care. Maybe you'll be one of the guys who sell before. But we should let people do that crap on a chain that scales, right? So like I don't think we should tell people, oh, you can't do ICOs on BSV. No, please do your ICO on BSV, right? We want to encourage that because that will push things forward. It'll push the conversation to say, okay, what works and what doesn't, you know. But yeah, I mean, also with tokens, yeah, I think everyone on ETH is just looking for Mooncoin. That's really all it is. And you know, the same thing can happen on BSV, but I think the tokens that are valuable are ones that actually have a purpose. Like, you know, maybe it's a utility one where, okay, this doesn't have any financial value per se, but it represents like a share or something like that in a company, or that could even be a share in a feature. And that's where you start getting into crazy stuff where, you know, maybe this token represents every time someone purchases $1 on a platform, that's like my revenue share, and that's 10% my way. And you know that's not possible in ETH because the damn fee is going to be $7, so that won't work. But it'll work on BSV. And NFTs. So NFTs are a big one. CryptoKitties, like I said, you know, it hit that wall, but I think that's really going to be the killer thing that takes off BSV and really busts a lot of the narratives. Is that when someone does that and they don't ever hit that ceiling, it's just going to go wild and people are going to say, oh, this is possible. And then they're going to want to come in and do it. And then you'll have a bigger boom than what was possible on ETH because people looked at that and said, oh, well, I guess I can't do my crypto dogs, you know, but I can do it over here. So I think that's how we kind of bust the narrative that, you know, it's an altcoin, it's a scam coin. It won't matter if people are using it to do stuff that people value.
Yeah. So wow. I mean, we're talking about so many things. It's almost like we had a kink hose and it just, you know, we just let it go because, you know, guys like you and I have a lot to say about this. And, you know, thank you for being here. So right now, a lot of what's happening within BSV are applications on chain, where it is the BSV blockchain, one blockchain and one unit of account, BSV itself, that is used across all the applications. So think about that, guys. That's a huge difference to the model that Ethereum would offer, right? Now Ethereum is talking about having sharding, right? Many blockchains, similar to what Polkadot wants to have, right? Where they have many different shards. They call them, I think they call them something else. I forgot the name of they give in Polkadot, right? Where it's just like little fragmented blockchains, right? In BSV, it's one blockchain, one network, one small world network where that is a value-driven meritocracy of mining, you know, extreme mining, extreme capitalism. A lot of the innovation that's happened within BSV has been on the application side. Bitcoin Cash has been kicking butt in the area of merchant adoption worldwide. It was actually pretty sad when we had BSV and Bitcoin Cash fork, unfortunately, because we had, you know, they were very complementing communities. You know, they're very complementing communities. Unfortunately, Bitcoin Cash, like we've said, you know, there's been a lot of people within Bitcoin Cash that have said, you cannot spam the blockchain. You cannot build applications on top of the blockchain. I don't know if that has changed within Bitcoin Cash since they just got rid of their lead development team and lead implementation with, you know, them saying no to their dev tax. But it's interesting. My question to you is, how do you see BSV in the area of growing in merchant adoption? Because I kind of know the answer to this, and I think it has to do with the real bad negative press that BSV has gotten because of Craig Wright. But am I right? Is that it, or is there more to it? Or is it that just BSV has been focusing on developing applications on chain so that the blockchain may grow and be self-sustaining from within? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I think the reason, I mean, I don't know the reason people aren't working on it. I can tell you the reason why I wouldn't work on it is because there's no incentive for any of local people around here to accept BSV, because all they're going to do is just sell it for fiat. So if that's the case, I might as well tell them, it would be better for me to pitch BCH because it's more liquid on exchanges and Coinbase, right? To accept, because I know all they're going to do is just change it for fiat, right? So like there's no incentive. You got trained employees on this weird crypto thing. It doesn't make any sense. But if there's a thing where, okay, the people that accept this coin can now actually use that, or the owner himself is interested in it, then it makes sense because he can take that and use that as a unit of account, right? But if he's just going to take it and then just sell it for the thing that he wanted anyway, it's pointless. I'm just adding friction to his business. So there's more risk for that person to accept crypto than it is to not. Now, on the other hand, I think that if there's a suite of apps, like maybe they're a tech company or, a small tech company, if there's some apps they need to use in the ecosystem, then it makes a lot of sense for them to accept it. I guess also you got to juxtapose that against credit card fees, because there can be a win there. But again, that might go away if they have to do this extra step and take a fee just to exchange it for fiat. So now the advantage that crypto has over credit cards is just gone, right? So I just think there needs to be more actual services that you can spend your coin on that is logical for a business to where they would want to accept it so they can actually use it, not just sell it for dollars.
Awesome, thank you. And I think one of the last questions I want to ask you here is regarding a business model that Ari from Sharkpool that you mentioned earlier, he actually told me about, and I thought, man, that's pretty genius. So the business model is what follows, right? We've already established, and we all know that the same miners that mine BTC and that mine are the same people that mine BSV, Bitcoin Cash. So, which is in itself the biggest computer network in the world right now. Bitcoin miners are a significant deal, right? So, if you're a startup, if you're a business, you could through BSV use Bitcoin miners as the back end of your business, where on the front end you can even charge fiat for services and goods that you provide in your startup, in your business. But on the back end, your clients don't even have to know you're using BSV. But on the back end, the BSV blockchain is your engine for storage, for whatever. Maybe if you can please expound a little bit more from a technical perspective on this startup modality that is available within BSV.
Yeah, I do think that the Ledger offers some cost savings. So, like if you were offloading certain data that would result in you having to run less infrastructure yourself, yes, that could definitely work. And then you could just do that, adopt that as a business, and not even have to tell your clients anything. And I actually think that's how a lot of the enterprise stuff will happen. Even though I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, I think that's how it will. And that will also get rid of any PR risks associated. But I also think by the time they wise up that it'll be a non-existent PR issue. So, but you see what I mean? If a business just says no customers asking a company what database you're using, they don't give a shit. They just want the service, right? So yeah, a company could do that. Or, some of these smart contract stuff, if they can, port that and just use that to get the functionality at a lower cost, then they can make money by using Bitcoin without actually having to pass that on to their customers.
Yeah, how awesome would it be? And it also cost efficient, right? For you as a startup to say, to go up, be like, maybe to investors or something and be like, I don't really need your money, but maybe I do. But just to let you guys know, the back end of my business is run by the most badass Bitcoin miners in the world. Like, that's awesome, That's so cool. Like, that is so cool. That's like, that's not just great decentralization on the back end of your business, but you also have the most robust, like Dan Held said, force field of energy protecting all of your customers' like data. I mean, that's so cool. I think that business idea is extremely cool. I don't know if this is the time to do something like that, but I'm in the horizon. Man, if someone can pull something off, I mean, I'm putting it out there. I mean, this could be, because, Josh, what this does is that as a startup, you already, if you're on the front end, you're offering something very appealing, and then you're using Bitcoin miners as the back end of your business, you're already in terms of like capabilities, you're already like almost competing with giants, like are you talking about with like Amazons and Googles, like in a heartbeat. I mean, way faster than you would on your own trying to build your own database over time, So that's a pretty cool idea. What do you think about that? Competing with Amazon and Google, miners competing with Amazon and Google in the future.
Yeah, I think that can happen. I think a lot of apps, it doesn't necessarily make sense to put, big databases on the ledger. I think that would get more expensive, and there's lots of risks with deferring that sort of thing. I just think that certain use cases are more possible. Now, if you're a small app, it might make sense to put the whole thing, and that's where you get into significant savings. So like they might not even have to run a back end at all, which is, that's interesting. So maybe they could take that money they were going to spend to Amazon and just like hire another dev or something, right? So I think that's where it gets more interesting, not necessarily running the whole thing. But I do think that it would make apps easier to build. So like if you can defer that and not have to run a database or anything like that, and you could just defer it to the ledger, then that, number one, like I said, is a cost savings, but it's easier. So that means you can ship faster. So you don't need to, maybe your dev time is 6 months instead of 9.
Awesome. Josh, is there anything else you want to talk about? Do you want to plug anything? I mean, anything. I mean, we're all about, education and for people to know things. And we really champion showing people things and teaching people about things that they are told they can't look at, that they shouldn't look at, right? Because as capitalists, we know that profit seeking is a lonely road, and that you're not in that. When you find something profitable, you're more likely going to be there by yourself, and you should be comfortable in that loneliness, because once the masses get there, guys, it's no longer profitable. So yeah, being first to market in something, especially in crypto, is requires a lot of independent thinking. And there's this term in BSV that I like a lot, which is people toss around a lot: passing the intelligence test, right? Look beyond the world of appearance, look beyond what they want to sell you, and really study the stuff for yourself. Heck, really look into it and be critical of it, like be very critical of what we talked about here today. Josh, what do you want to say? Any last words?
Yeah, people can check my author profile at coingeek.com. That's where I write like almost every week for them about what's going on. And then I have a YouTube channel where I've done coding tutorials. So anyone looking to get started to program with BSV, they can check that out and start building their app.
Awesome. All that will be in the description below. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. And Mr. Hensley, thank you so much for taking your time. And I know you're very busy. You're constantly like just messing with BSV and its code. And something I didn't mention, you did a fork of Twitch, which was really cool. Can you say that? Talk about that real quick. So he did a fork of Twitch. Do you remember? You know what I'm talking?
Did you say retro Twitch?
Yeah, retro Twitch. Yeah.
Yeah, so that I did that. I was doing some tutorials for Twitch, and part of it, it was just easy to build another front end for it. So I just happened to do that. Like it only took a couple of days to build it, and it was really fun. I mean, I still support it. It had a boom, but it doesn't have so much usage anymore. And I have some ideas around it, but yeah, it's like this old school alternative client for Twitch. So it's filters on a track phrase, which is just a $ OSG. So like if you post that on Twitch, it'll show up on Retro Twitch. But obviously anything posted through Retro shows up on Twitch as well. So it's the same kind of backend, which is BSV, but it's just a different view with a different skin and different economics. Likes, I changed the price of likes to 10 cents on there instead of 5, which on Twitch. But like I feel like, you know, it's pretty interesting to show what you could do by just taking what someone else built on BSV and then kind of morphing it to your configuration or whatever and just tweaking things a bit with, you know, based off that person.
Guys, if you haven't messed with Twitch, I highly recommend that you do, because the entire crypto space is an area of spontaneous order and constant experimentation in the market, right? So yeah, Twitch, if you use it, my experience of it was, has been of being in like a complete laissez-faire, radical capitalist version of Twitter. And now when I go back to the People's Republic of Twitter, I feel dirty. So I try to go to Twitch as much as possible, because I like that experience of really owning my data and people paying me for my content, you know? Awesome. Well, Joshua, thank you so much for being with us today. Um, yeah, peace, love, anarchy, guys, as Berwick says. Until next time, thank you for being here, Josh. Peace.
Thanks for having me.